OLED EX is the latest evolution of OLED TVs, but what exactly is it, and wait, what happened to OLED EVO, which was all the rage in 2021? Well, in this video, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Stick around. Hey guys, it's the Villaman here, home theater enthusiast and lover of all things tech. And if you've been paying attention to the TV space, you may know that there's been quite a bit of development in the TV realm in the past year. Not just OLEDs, but there are more mini LED TVs and there are new kinds of OLED TVs, from OLED EVO, which was slated to be the next brighter evolution of OLED TVs. Then there's the QD OLED, which integrates quantum dots resulting in brighter panels with more vivid colors, to the OLED EX, which is what we're talking about in this video. And let's get straight to it. The EX in the OLED EX is derived from two words, evolution and experience. And each of those words refers to a key technical implementation for the panels. Now, the evolution part is actually from the same EVO branding that LG Display has been using since 2021. The EVO technology has been implemented in the Sony A90J OLED as well as the LG G1 OLED, among others. And what made the EVO panel so special is that it uses deuterium-based OLED material as opposed to hydrogen. And yes, they've been doing that since 2021. That's a technical breakthrough because deuterium is very rare in the natural world, but LG found a method to extract enough to implement it in these new panels. The higher mass of the deuterium helps the panel not only maintain higher output, but also prolongs its operating lifespan since it's less prone to degeneration like the hydrogen-based material. And that's where we get OLED EVOs. Some of you may already know that, but even so, that's a key part of the OLED EX technology. The other part is the experience part. This part will be implemented purely in software, and what that means is that LG Display will be implementing an algorithm in the software to enhance the stability and efficiency of the panel. And what that means in normal speak is that they'll be using said algorithm to determine on a scene-by-scene basis when they can squeeze out an extra amount of light output from the diodes. That won't be for full field brightness scenes, by the way, but instead for smaller parts of the screen for things like specular highlights, for example, a light reflecting off a shiny surface. In doing so, the TV will be able to achieve up to 30% more brightness than, say, what you'd get from something like an LG C1 OLED. On that TV, the peak brightness was measured at a little over 760 nits using a 10% window. So that means now we'll see an OLED EX TV approaching maybe even 1000 nits in that instance. That will likely be in the most ideal of idealist scenarios, but we'll have to wait and see for that. This is also why I think LG will be adding a heatsink to some of their OLED TVs in 2022, like the G2, because if you've ever gotten close to an OLED TV screen, then you know it gives off a lot of heat. So if they're over there turbo boosting pixel brightness in small sections on the screen like AMD and Intel with turbo boost CPU frequencies for 1 or 2 cores, in certain scenarios, then they're likely going to need some additional cooling to dissipate all that heat. That doesn't mean though that an OLED EX TV without the heatsink won't be brighter because they don't have a heatsink. No, there's still the EVO panel with the new algorithm, so they may just not get as bright or be bright for as long as the models with a heatsink. Because if they could do that, then there wouldn't really be a need for the added cost and complexity of adding a heatsink to the TV, now would there? It's going to be really interesting, but I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, that whole heatsink thing sounds suspiciously like what Sony and Panasonic did with their OLED TVs last year. To which I reply, yes, it does. And you'd be right, it worked really well for them. If you've seen my comparison of the LG C1 versus the Sony A90J linked here, then you'd have seen that the Sony OLED had a noticeably better HDR implementation than the LG did. It was brighter, and as a result, the HDR picture popped that much more. That difference was no doubt also due in part to Sony's picture processing, but I think with the OLED EX panels in the 2021 TVs, the disparity won't be quite as much. So instead of leaving it up to manufacturers to implement these features, it will instead be implemented by LG Display, which is the company making the OLED panels. So we won't run into something like what happened in 2021 with the C1, where some TVs had the new Evo panel, but not the software to take advantage of that panel and enable the higher brightness output. But now we're also anticipating the launch of QD OLEDs, which have also entered the ring, and those OLED panels, by all indications, are supposed to be next level. So I guess the saying's true, huh? There will always be bigger fish. But we'll see just how much better those are, and they're expected to cost a significant amount more, but we'll see. But big picture, it doesn't appear that much has changed from the OLED Evo technology that was introduced last year. I think since OLED Evo didn't make quite as big a splash as LG Display had hoped. I mean, they were supposed to be the next generation of OLED, but the G2, which had the OLED Evo technology, was barely distinguishable from the C1, which didn't have the full technology implemented. You can check out that comparison here also, by the way. So I think LG is basically hitting a reset on the branding with OLED EX, and will likely use the G1 as the tech showcase, since it'll have both the technology and the heatsink implemented. That's just what I think though, but we'll see exactly what ends up happening in the next few months. Like last year with the Evo branding, the EX won't be available on the lower end TVs below the C2 in this case. Last year you needed the G1 to get the full OLED Evo implementation, and that wasn't available on the C1. This year though, the OLED EX technology will be available on the C2, which is great news because the C2 is the most popular OLED TV that LG sells. If you want to see more content on home theater audio and video, including demos, comparisons, and reviews, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and come along for the ride, because the 2022 TVs and projectors are right around the corner. And yes, I know I've been MIA for a while last year, but what can I say? Life, right? But yeah, I'm back now and back at it. I'll also be making a video of all the changes I've done to my home theater over the past few months. It is truly next level now. It is crazy. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you've bought a TV recently or if you're going to be buying one this year. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like the video if you liked it and subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, this has been your friendly neighborhood Villaman saying be safe and peace.